Good evening, everybody. Joel Palmont Mellard here. Hope you're going well. Please excuse me for filming it this way rather than that way. Just thought I can easily keep this propped up on a bench like this. So today it is the 18th of April 2022. 5 years ago tonight, I was seeing Dream Theatre for the fourth time in my life at the Symphony Hall in Birmingham. I was really excited to see Dream Theatre again. I hadn't seen them since 2014. They were celebrating the 25th anniversary of Images and Words, which it wasn't the first Dream Theatre album that I did buy, but it was one of the first albums that I really did enjoy from start to finish. My first Dream Theatre album was actually Octavarium that I purchased around May 2008, and I didn't buy a copy of Images and Words until February 2009. Now, an incident happened after this concert had finished, right? I was crossing a road from the Symphony Hall to the other side of the road at on Broad Street, like one of the main streets. It's, in my opinion, Broad Street is now becoming a huge eyesore in town. You've got the big library there, then you've got Broad Street with all the bars and shops and all that. And so these three guys, they came to me and they asked if I had cigarettes. I basically said that I don't smoke because, you know, I'm a smart person. People who smoke are stupid, and if you smoke, well, you kind of like do deserve some horrible things to happen to you, in my opinion. But that's just my guess. So I basically said sorry, I don't smoke and all, and like I turned away. And as I keep walking, the guy, he came up to me and says, "Did you tell me to F off?" And I said no. And so he punched me in the nose. He just punched me in the nose like that. I'm wearing glasses. And so I'm bleeding from the nose. And then the person who hit me was, I'd be considered as like Eastern European. And no offense to anyone from Eastern European, but I was for Brexit because, well, you know, that's political views. And then a guy who was with the group whacked me in the head with a ball in socket. Well, basically, kind of how you could describe as like, it would be like a cricket ball in a black bag. And as a matter of fact, he was actually using this to hit people, like throughout the night. So like, I'm bleeding from here and I'm bleeding from here. And as I walk in the street, nobody is freaking helping me out. I'm like, "Can someone please help me? I'm using like my jacket. I like to stop like the bleeding." And so I walked past the strip club, and this Muslim bouncer, a lovely man, he gave me some blue roll and he flagged down a police car. So the first thing the police was asking was, have I been drinking? I had one alcoholic drink like 8 hours prior to that day, because they're always like suspicious of, well, oh, how does somebody get like injured and all. So they arrested the idiot who hit me in the back of the head, and so I had to go to hospital. I went to Queen Elizabeth Hospital in Birmingham, where before I could get treated by doctors, I had to make a whole police report. And so I got treated basically just with, you know, glue, because I have banged my head in the past and it has like bled. So all I've had to do was like get like a super glue to glue the wound together. I went to Birmingham Mail, I called them up, said this is what happened, and so I was featured on the website. And that angered this police officer, like at Birmingham City thing, saying, "Oh, I should have gone to the media." I'm like, man, accidents like this happen. People who are victims of assault should be entitled to come through and make, you know, a statement like to the media for like what happened. I mean, because it was quite, you know, severe and all. The police at that department, this one officer, like Rachel Veneers, she was a nasty woman. Basically, she would want me to come in for, just to make like a witness statement and all, and I wasn't like in town. And so basically, like a few months on the track, she says, "Oh, well, you're gonna have to go to court." I said, "Unfortunately, I've got to go back to Australia because it's running out of money." And then so she just went ballistic at me on the phone. And the horrible thing about these police is the first question they asked me on the phone was, "Oh, what visa are you from?" And I'm like, "What is your visa? What entitlement?" And I said, "You should know that I'm a British citizen. I mean, look me up. Am I on the police record in this country? No, you should know my passport details." That's You ask for somebody's name and date of birth, you put it on the Home Ministry office, it tells that person they're a British citizen or not. So, after that incident that happened, right, I quit my job a few days later in a fit of like rage because I was working with dumb people in this boxing arena, and I left. I left Birmingham for 2 weeks. I had a mental breakdown. I swore my head off and verbally abused people I worked with who were jerks to me, who were like xenophobic to me on the job, and I nearly ended up with a criminal record just for that. So then I came back to Birmingham in May 2017, and I was living in a youth hostel for my last few weeks, and I was trying to get a job in Birmingham. And the one horrible thing I had to deal with in Birmingham was dealing with like people in job interviews asking me, oh, why did I move from Australia? And I've had to go at these people. I said, you're xenophobic. You don't ask people why they moved to England. It's none of your business. So in my opinion, right, not because I got hit in the head, or not because I couldn't get a job in Birmingham, Birmingham is a xenophobic shithole. And I'm pleased to say that I've not been back in 2 years, and I don't really expect to go back to Birmingham for a while. There are people I do like in Birmingham who I'm still friends with this very day, 5 years on. I used to go to a really nice church in Birmingham before I left for London. And I mean, those type of people are nice. But then, of course, in a city, there's either a city which makes you want to call it a shithole. It's mainly because of people. People will not give you a chance because of your background, or that there will be people there, all types of different nationalities, colours, and they always say to you, oh hey, don't you do business with that person over there, like she's from Pakistan. That's just like xenophobia. Seriously, I don't stand for like xenophobia. I mean, I live in London. I do not say to people in London, don't go to this shop, don't go to that shop because that person's from that country, the person's bad. You can't judge somebody for being from a country that you've never been to in your life. Seriously. So, in the end, I'm just glad that I no longer live in Birmingham, and every time I go up to Staffordshire and Crewe to go visit friends of mine, I'm just so glad that I don't have to go through Birmingham, because if I do, I always make sure I just give it the two-finger salute, and I'm like, shithole, racist, xenophobic pole, bastards wouldn't give me a job, and all. So I'm quite surprised that I'm still alive to this day, 5 years on, and I've not had any other bad head injuries since then. Because I kind of worried, the next day after I got injured, I went to my doctor, and my doctor's like, you should be fine, but I do worry that later down the track, you might have some sort of injuries that's may affect your life. I could have got a stroke, I could have got a brain tumor, I could have got brain damage. As a matter of fact, for 6 whole months, there were times where I would talk on camera and I would forget certain things. And the worst thing about it, alright, the guy who hit me in the head, he only got 28 months in jail, which is reasonable. And I got no compensation. I got no compensation despite the fact that I walked out of my job, I quit, I left Birmingham, I chucked the spaz at people. And one night in May 2017, I actually slept in a bus station in London because there was no accommodation there, and there was no accommodation in Birmingham. So my cousin was like, I just can't believe that basically, Martin, you got no compensation. The guy who whacked you is in jail, living a good life. He's not living a good life when you're in jail. When you're in jail, you don't get to visit good countries in the world. You don't get to meet famous people like Stockard Channing or Joan Collins or Lee Aaron. You don't get to do cool things when you're in jail, because when you're in jail, it's punishment for being a stupid person. So always remember that. I'm Martin the Metalhead. I'm over and out.